So for the New York Jets, they were a surprise team early on, like I said, with that strong defense, and they looked poised for a wild card spot in the AFC in 2022. The only problem was the quarterback room. Like Zach Wilson, their second-year starter, the second overall pick in the 2021 NFL draft, he regressed significantly. He looked like really lost. He threw a lot of turnovers that was really unforced. And when he got benched, backup Mike White, who caught people a little bit by surprise, he didn't provide a solution this time around in this past season. And when they had to turn back to Zach Wilson because Mike White was injured, that didn't turn out to be a given either. And then towards the tail end of the season, they went to Joe Flacco. So that was basically the downfall of the Jets season. They went 7-10. Their promising season went up in flames. Again, that only positive from that season was that strong, very strong defense that Robert Saleh produced. So, of course, you want to go into 2023. You want to redo what you tried to do in this past season in 2022, and that was make the playoffs. But unfortunately, you had to figure out what we were going to do at quarterback because Zach Wilson, it didn't look like you were going to do that with him. So, looking at some of the team needs that I had for the New York Jets going into this coming season is that you had to get a starting quarterback in free agency. There were a couple of options out there, such as Derek Carr, Jimmy G, not enticing options, but you had to go get something because Zach Wilson was not going to get you there. You also had to get a new left tackle because that side of the offensive line had some questions going into this season, and then reinforce the secondary. Sure, you had linebacker CJ Mosley still performing at a solid level, and of course you also had Ahmad Sauce Gardner, who had a really excellent rookie season. But then there are other questions on the other side of the secondary. So you just wanted to reinforce the secondary to make sure you had another strong season from your defense. So now came the question of what exactly did they do? What exactly did they do to address the team needs that I had? So looking at some of their offseason events, they replaced Mike LaFleur, a little bit questionable, but okay. Their offensive coordinator with former Broncos head coach Nathaniel Hackett. Yeah, the guy that really was in over his head as a head coach for the Denver Broncos and was given the Christmas gift of getting fired after they got roasted by Patrick Starr on Christmas Day by the Rams. So, nonetheless, that was in the past. So, Nathaniel Hackett comes in as the offensive coordinator for the New York Jets. And then, of course, the big story of the Jets offseason back in March was the big trade to go and get Aaron Rodgers from the Green Bay Packers and bring him over to the Jets. Kind of like, what's that guy? Oh, yeah, Brett Favre. How Brett Favre came over, got traded from Green Bay to the New York Jets in 2008. Kind of familiar thinking, huh? So, yeah, Aaron Rodgers comes over from Green Bay and trades that green and yellow to some Gotham green. A little bit interesting there. But that's what Aaron Rodgers wants to do. Sure, okay. We need the new change of scenery. So we'll see how Aaron Rodgers does in this new environment. He's a bit on the older side, 39 years old. But if he can still play, if he can have a little bit of a bounce back season, because his last seasons in Green Bay, sure, there were a little bit of injuries that hampered his play, but he was making a lot of questionable decisions with his performance, a lot more turnovers than usual, and his inability to come in clutch in the playoffs, like the 2021 divisionals against the 49ers, and then 2020 against the Bucks in that title game. But nonetheless, maybe a change of scenery should help Aaron Rodgers. Maybe. So before then, the Jets couldn't really do anything in free agency because, well, they're waiting to decide on compensation for Aaron Rodgers, or just waiting in general for this Aaron Rodgers trade to go through. So fortunately for the Jets, they didn't really lose a whole lot of people. They only lost backup Mike White to the Miami Dolphins, and when their return specialist Braxton Berrios to the Miami Dolphins. They did resign a key offensive lineman in Connor McGovern, so that's something. Once they did manage to finally officially make the Aaron Rodgers trade official, that's when they got to work. They got some receiving help, Alan Lazard and Randall Cobb, Aaron Rodgers' buddies from the Packers, and then they got McCole Hardman from the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, honestly, they didn't need too much receiving help, but it helps, especially considering you already have Garrett Wilson there, who did pretty well in his rookie year last year. So adding some more receivers definitely is no harm. And then the offensive lineman Billy Turner from Denver Broncos never can hurt getting more protection. And then in the draft, they couldn't really do a whole lot, but I feel like they made the most of it. They added an edge rusher by the name of Will McDonald. A little bit questionable why they decided to go for an edge rusher. I thought their first round draft need was an offensive lineman because they certainly could have added a little bit more protection for Aaron Rodgers, because that was kind of an issue with Zach Wilson last year, especially on the left side. But they rectified that a little bit in the later rounds, getting the likes of Joe Tippmann from Wisconsin and Carter Warren from Pittsburgh. So, at least they tried there. So when I look at this Jets offseason as a whole, they couldn't really do a whole lot because, they were getting held up on Green Bay. What exactly do you want in this Aaron Rodgers deal? Yeah, it's pretty much that simple. But, I mean, they still have a good amount of talent on that roster to make it work. It's so far from what I've seen in the little snippets on Twitter, Aaron Rodgers has made good work with what he has. Down in training camp. So hopefully it pans out. The secondary though, there's some small concerns, but not so much that the secondary is gonna get its butt whooped in this coming season, because you still got guys like Ahmad Sauce Gardner, Michael Carter, two corners that have played pretty well, but the slot corner is a little bit tad worrisome. Linebackers CJ Mosley and Quincy Williams, they're still pretty solid linebackers for that Jets secondary. I was just hoping that they get a little bit more depth behind those guys. So looking at some of their key potential games in 2023, the first one's a very big one because you're playing the Bills at home on Monday night. So definitely a big game to test out your kinks if you're the New York Jets. Obviously, there will be some growing pains. I know you look all fine and dandy now in training camp, and you didn't play at all. You didn't play the starters at all in the first preseason game against the Browns. And who knows how much you'll play Aaron Rodgers during the preseason. But yeah, there's definitely going to be some growing pains. It's totally going to be expected. And that includes this first game against the Buffalo Bills in a primetime spot. Then you host the New England Patriots. I expect them to win that game. You never know. I might jinx it now. And then, you got a kind of a tough out the following week against the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes on Sunday night. So a couple of primetime games to start out the season. And then week 6, you host the Philadelphia Eagles, a couple weeks after that. That's kind of a rough stretch for the New York Jets and Aaron Rodgers. And then a couple weeks later, weeks 11 to 12, you get a AFC East divisional slate. You go to Buffalo to take on the Bills in a rematch, and then you host the Miami Dolphins. Yeah, those are two very important games if you want to try to scratch a claw if you're kind of in this division race against the Bills. So, looking at the season for the New York Jets, how is Aaron Rodgers going to perform in a new environment? Like I said, maybe a change in scenery, maybe having a better supporting cast that Green Bay didn't provide you will help. Let's see how Aaron Rodgers does. Maybe having a new head coach in Robert Saleh and having your offensive coordinator back in Nathaniel Hackett could certainly help things, but it's going to be on Aaron Rodgers to perform better, or if not worse, not worse at all, to propel the Jets into a better season than what Zach Wilson produced the last 2 years. And then this is concerning the running back position because, Breece Hall was well on his way to having a very good season last year. And then he tore his ACL, which was very unfortunate. So it's going to be interesting to watch how Breece Hall is going to come off that torn ACL injury from last year. So are they going to slowly ease him back in? Are they going to push him in right out of the gate? So some things to consider there. So, overall, looking at the Jets, they had chances to get to the playoffs last year. But, those quarterback problems with Zach Wilson and Mike White, it shut down those hopes. But Aaron Rodgers, you got him now. And who knows how long you'll have him because, he's on the later 30s, inching towards 40. He may not win you the division because you still have to deal with the Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills. And you never, I can't discount the New England Patriots that much, even though we still got questions about Mac Jones. But considering he was coming off a down year in Green Bay, he at least has a better supporting cast. And while I don't see them supplanting the Bills, in my opinion, in the East, they should still do well enough to at least get one of the playoff spots in what's going to be a competitive AFC. Just as long as Aaron Rodgers plays at a strong level. So I expect the Jets to bounce back, go 10-7, and I think they can make the playoffs. Again, just as long as Aaron Rodgers, Jets, Jets, ups his game.